Your advice, your support, your suggestions just turned me in the right direction.
Yeah, I'm so pleased.
That's sort of like what happened. Can you maybe just explain where you're from and where you're at?
Yeah. So I was diagnosed with stage 4 metastatic prostate cancer nearly 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And at the outset, I was told I could expect probably 5 years of reasonable health. 6 would be considered exceptional, and it's 6 years in July the 7th. And still surfing and doing everything I've always done and feeling great. And my last scans, when I was diagnosed, I had a tumour in this femur, the thigh bone, one in my rib, so it had already spread beyond the prostate, which is what metastatic means. Mm-hmm. And so that's considered a pretty grim prognosis. And about 2 years in, after concurrent chemo, hormone therapy, about 18 months after all the chemo finished, this leg completely cleared up. The spot on my rib has remained stable, and so that's really the only cancer that shows up in my scans now, this one little spot on my rib. And the latest scan, they're saying it's less active than it was 12 months ago. And this oncologist I've just started talking to at Peter McCallum in Melbourne, he was so effusive, he was just over the moon. He said, if you'd showed me this scan and told me this was your clinical picture 6 years after your diagnosis, I wouldn't have believed it. People used to feel like they had to choose between conventional and alternative therapies, and what I'm most interested in is what they call integrative medicine or integrative oncology, which is using everything that's evidence-based. And it's a tricky area because you know what it's like. You get a cancer diagnosis and people are coming at you with all kinds of wacky folk remedies, and you know you're trying to sort the wheat from the chaff, and you know
that's one thing. When with the diagnosis, you get bombarded with people with just so many different ideas of how you can treat it. Yeah. But your suggestions to me were so strong. But it would seem like you'd done all this research, and you just selected what was right. You know, like you just made it work.
Probably my background in journalism helped because I'm used to processing lots of information and trying to kind of synthesize down to the essence of it. You know, so I'd read, and you can get lost down rabbit holes on the internet. You know, it's like, but I think you've got to have a pretty good kind of bullshit detector. Yeah. So I'd come up with these little kind of rules of thumb, like if they say something's 10,000 times more effective than chemotherapy, it's probably bullshit. And if something's really high priced and there's not much of an evidence base, then steer clear of it. And then I just kept coming back to, it might sound like a weird analogy, but it's almost like, how the different religions can kind of butt heads about who's got the direct line to the fucking almighty, But you look at the commonalities and there are some pretty simple basic principles that are common to all the major religions. And I felt like that in all the stuff I was reading, I just kind of kept hold of the common points, which is, plant-based diet, meditation, exercise, good attitude, emotional, social support.
I mean, you pointed me in that direction, Tim, when I got this, and I get people every day going, you seem so strong, but I genuinely believe it's because I've changed my diet. And I was a sugar fiend. I used to eat the worst friggin' stuff, that's taken out. I'm eating vegetables. I don't eat much meat anymore because it's all about fruit, veggies, mainly veggies, tasting the rainbow, as you said. And I feel like I'm eating like a king. We go to restaurants and the flavour explosion in my mouth is just incredible. So you're pointing me in that direction: mindset, meditation, rest, that sort of stuff. I just feel like that's giving me strength as well. And positive energy. Just positive power just seems to be. As I've telling people lately, like, a couple of days ago I was a bit flat with the chemo sort of just hitting me hard, and I was sitting at home just going, I need to go in for radiation, and next thing I hear my daughter singing Who Let the Dogs Out. But it was like a video game, like this energy bar just went like that, and I was like, I'm ready for the day.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I've fed off her energy and the happiness that was.
Yeah.
But it's like what you have said to me and what you've shown me is like, you know, like it just seems to be what points me in the right direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so glad to hear that.
Mm.
And it does kind of crack you open in a way that, you know, it can just really be a kind of unraveling, and some people really struggle, but it can be a really positive thing where you let it redesign your life.
Mm.
You know, it's like that saying, what's in the way is the way. And that was something my yoga teacher said when I was lying in Shavasana, which is, they call the corpse pose. At the end of yoga, you're just lying there like a dead body, and the yoga teacher's talking, and she just said, what's in the way is the way. And for some reason, it just really resonated with me, like, yeah, this is my path, this is my life. It's not like this temporary obstruction that I'm just going to try and get over and get back to my old life. This is a new way of life. And that book that I recommended, Anti-Cancer, is called A New Way of Life.
Yeah.
That's the subtitle. So I think, yeah, if you're prepared to let it just have its transformative effect on you, then it can have this really beautiful kind of silver lining. And it's not to say it's not going to be hard at times, but I guess you don't sort of fight it, you know.
The best recommendations, like when we first spoke, and you told me about diet, like food and mental health, mind, which was great. But the big thing was that anti-cancer book, because it was relatable for me, because it was about brain tumours.
Yeah.
You know, it was about this guy who had brain tumours, and that book there was like, it was a lightning bolt.
Yeah, and he's a doctor, so you know it's got some medical credibility as well. You know, that's what I liked about it, that it was this doctor who diagnosed his own brain tumour.
Yeah,
you know?
I know, it's crazy, isn't it?
And he'd done the sort of conventional therapies with, you know, his complete belief in medical science, and had gone away, and then had come back, and he'd realised, well, I'm going to have to do more than just, you know, standard care. And then he opened his mind to the whole world of complementary therapies.
And the fact that he was sort of actively involved in like neurosurgery anyway, he was travelling around the world and seeing all these studies, so it was almost like he was doing a quick version of a research for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a really great book, Anti-Cancer.